On June 28, 2024, I got my Global Talent Visa approved in just 10 days to move and live in the UK for up to 5 years. So, sadly, due to a tragic incident that happened on my second day in London where I got assaulted, I had to fly back to India. I'm completely fine now, but that also cut my London trip short. I plan to go back to London in 2025, but I've gotten hundreds of messages from people who want to know how to get their GTV to reach their London dreams. So if you're looking to move to the UK, then this is meant for you. Before we begin, I do want to say a huge thanks to T1 Digital who sponsored this video. T1 has helped more than 2,750 people get the GTV successfully in the last few years. If you're looking for help, then check out a link in the description which will give you a free consult with the team to kickstart the process. Now, let's begin.
So here's how UK immigration works. High level, you can visit the UK, work in the UK, or study in the UK. In my case, I wanted to work in the UK. To work in the UK, they have a host of options for you. For example, they have a list of visas you can apply for without a job offer. They have a list of options for which you can work in the UK for your overseas or foreign employer. They have a list of temporary work visas and so many more on this page. In my case, I wanted to work for myself without a job offer. Of all the options over here, I looked at the high potential individual visa and the global talent visa. The high potential individual visa, or the HPI, is specifically given to those who graduated from a list of 20 universities that the UK thinks is prestigious. The good news was my university, Columbia University, where I did my master's, was on the list. But the bad news was they only give the HPI to people who graduated in the last 5 years. I had graduated about 5 years and 2 months ago at this point. So the only option left for me then was the global talent visa. But it turns out the GTV is perhaps the best and most flexible visa you can get to live and work in the UK. All right, let's talk about what is the GTV. GTV is a talent visa given to people who are leaders or potential leaders in the fields of arts and culture, academia and research, or digital technology. Great. Now, why is the GTV the best and most flexible visa? Besides not needing a job offer, you can move to the UK and live there for up to 5 years and then extend forever if you want. You can get permanent residence if you stay there for between 3 to 5 years, depending on which track you choose. You can work for any employer, yourself, or freelance for multiple employers. And finally, you can also take your family and children there, and your spouse can work too. Okay, so far, if I've got you excited about this, let's talk about who should apply for the GTV. The truth is, really anyone can apply. There is no restriction on who should apply. You can be a scientist, a musician, a dancer, a founder, or an engineer. It doesn't matter. What matters, though, is can you show that you are a leader or a potential leader in your field? Can you show documents that say that you've contributed a lot to your field? That's what matters, and let's talk more about that. Which route will you choose? So the GTV requires you to make a very important choice before you even think of applying. There's 2 tracks, the exceptional talent track and the exceptional promise track. And you have to choose one of these 2. The exceptional promise has a relatively low bar compared to the exceptional talent track. And the main difference is those who apply for the exceptional talent, they're already leaders in their field. For example, a software engineer who has 10 years of experience, multiple patents, has published many papers, judged many competitions. That's someone who would apply for the exceptional talent track. On the other hand, the exceptional promise track still requires you to be doing great work, but it's okay if you're not a leader in your field yet. So maybe a software engineer who has 5 years of experience, no patents, but maybe a few papers, and just 1 or 2 competitions that they've judged, might think of applying for the exceptional promise track. The main advantage of the exceptional talent track is that if you get a GTV through that, then you can file your permanent residence, PR, within 3 years of living in the UK. Whereas on the exceptional promise track, you have to stay there for up to 5 years before you file. So once you decide on the route, it's time to understand the process. What's the process? The application process involves 3 stages. Stage 1 is starting the process. Stage 2 is obtaining an endorsement. And stage 3 is booking your visa appointment. Stage 1, starting the process. It just involves you to go to gov.uk, start the process, fill in a bunch of details, and then pay the £524 application fee. Once you click submit, this is then sent to the UK Home Office. But very important to note, the moment you start the application, You only have 15 days before you have to submit all of your evidence. Stage 2, obtaining an endorsement. This is the main part of the process. This is where you get something called an endorsement, which has to come from an approved body. In my case, I applied under the digital technology track. So I had to get endorsement from something called Tech Nation, which is, as of September 2024, the approved body. This is the step where you have to show why they should give you this visa. And so to show that, you have to submit a bunch of documents, including a 1,000-word personal statement, your entire curriculum vitae, CV, at least 3 letters of recommendation from experts in your field, and finally, a bunch of supporting documents. These supporting documents are what make up most of your application. This is where you show that you're a leader or a potential leader in your field. The good news is, Tech Nation has done an excellent job of laying out exactly what they consider as evidence on their website. So a few examples of supporting evidence includes getting a national award, judging the work of someone else, being invited to speak at a conference, obtaining a high salary for your work, working on critical projects, and more. In my case, fortunately, I had almost all the documents ready to go because I already had a talent visa in the US called the O1A. So it only took me like 7 to 10 days to put all of this together and submit my application. Stage 3, booking your visa appointment. Assuming all goes well and you got the endorsement email, the next step is quite simple actually. Here, all you have to do is go pay the visa application fee, and then you have to pay something called the healthcare surcharge. This is like UK's version of national health insurance, and you have to pay for this in advance. Once you pay these 2 fees, you then have to upload a bunch more documents that they ask for, go to the consulate on the day of the appointment, submit your passport, whatever else they require, and then just wait for your passport to be returned. Okay, we talked about the process. Let's talk timelines now. Here is the general timeline that's stated on the website. Step 1, you start the process on gov.uk. Step 2, you have 15 days by which you have to submit the documents. Step 3, once you submit the documents to the endorsing body, Tech Nation can take anywhere between 5 to 8 weeks to respond to you with a decision. In my case, it only took 4 days, but on average, it could take a few weeks. Step 4, you book an appointment at the consulate. When I was checking, the appointments are available as early as tomorrow if you book today. So I think this shouldn't take as much time. And finally, the last step is waiting for your passport to be returned. In my case, this took about 10 days, but they say it can take up to 3 weeks. Final topic, talking about the cost. The entire process cost me about £1,723 or $2,250. The breakdown is as follows. £524 for the initial endorsement application, £192 to book your visa appointment, and £1,035 for health surcharge for 1 year. In my case, I only paid for a year because I only expected to be there for less than a year. And I always knew I could pay for more if I extend my visa. Okay, that was a lot. But just remember that once you get the Global Talent Visa, you can stay in the UK for up to 5 years and do whatever you want, and also then apply for a PR. So I think it's worth the effort. So after all of this, if you feel like I want to go ahead, then it's probably a good idea to talk to an immigration consultant or a lawyer. In my case, I self-filed because I already had 2 visas in the US and I knew the entire process and I spoke to a bunch of people. But I understand if some people want the peace of mind of talking to a lawyer.
Okay, I hope that was helpful. Now let's talk about next steps. Even for someone like me, the GTV process was quite confusing. What I mean by that is, I have published an entire book on high skilled immigration in the US. I have 2 talent visas from the US, the O1A and EB2 NIW, and I still found it confusing to go through the GTV process. So I can imagine how it must be confusing for you. I spoke to 2 recipients and had a consult with the founder of T1 Digital before I filed my application. And the good news is, the founder, Naveen, has generously agreed to offer 25 free consults for anyone who wants to kickstart their GTV process. And just so you know, T1 has filed more than 2,750 successful GTVs for people in the tech domain. They help you with the end-to-end process, give you personalized guidance, and help you prepare all the documents you need. So if you want to book a free consult, check the link in description. And before you go, visit curiousmaverick.com if you want to join 7,000 people who get a weekly newsletter from me with unfiltered stories, growth tips, and surprise gifts. All the very best to you, and until next time, take care.